Okay, well, welcome everyone. My name is Anthony Escribens. I am the founder and CEO of RebookMedia. I'm also a full-time photographer based here in New Jersey. So everything we're going to cover today comes from real-world experience and not necessarily theory. But before we get started, I wanted to take a quick moment and say thank you to a couple of members from my team who are on the call today. Mecca, who's our VP of Sales, and Victor, who's our VP of Marketing. They both worked diligently behind the scenes to help make this workshop a reality. And a lot of coordination went into today. I really appreciate their efforts. So thank you both. Just a few housekeeping items. We're going to be together for about 75 minutes. We may finish the presentation at between 60 and 65 minutes and then allow some more time for Q&A. Participation is highly encouraged. We are going to cover a lot of material, so please feel free to drop questions in the chat at any time. Myself and my team will answer them as we go along, and also leave time, as I mentioned, at the end for Q&A. This session is being recorded. A copy of the presentation will be emailed to everyone after the workshop. And the goal for today is simple. I'm going to share with you my experience as a real estate photographer here in New Jersey. I'm going to give you practical real world tools and insights you can start using immediately in your real estate photography journey. All right, so that's really the goal here. We do have a jam-packed agenda, but before we dive in, I'd love to get a quick sense of who's in the room this evening. So if you could take a few seconds and please introduce yourself in the chat. Just give us your name, where you're based, and your primary photography discipline, whether it's weddings, portraits, maybe you already do real estate. I would love to learn just a little more about you. If you could please type that in now, that'd be great. Thanks. Automotive photography. Nice, Angel. Very cool. I actually started doing some automotive and aviation photography here in New Jersey as well. I started that like 4 months ago. Nature, landscape, very cool. Wedding and events, yep. Yeah. Photography for fun, don't we all? Hello, Wendy from New York. Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in with your answers. Yeah, no, this is great. So we have a range of disciplines here in the room with us, so that's fantastic. Okay, thank you for that. This helps me tailor some examples and call out relevant use cases as we go along. So I appreciate everyone's input. Okay, let's move on to the next, to really the first slide. So here's a quick intro about me, and you see a bunch of hats, right? The CEO of hats. So I asked ChatGPT to help me create this image, and which pretty much sums up my 4 passions. And surprisingly, ChatGPT did a pretty good job. So I am a full-time photographer, as I mentioned. I'm also a commercial rated pilot. I mostly fly out of Morristown and Somerset airports here in New Jersey. So if you're in New Jersey, swing by and say hello. I am a dad to 3 beautiful kids who keep me on my toes every day. I mean, that's an understatement. I'm also the founder of the RebookMedia platform. Throughout my career, I've worked for Amazon, for Verizon, and other companies holding roles in engineering and senior leadership positions. And when I was much younger, I was also a chemical operations specialist for the U.S. Army. So RebookMedia came out of my own frustration as a photographer. There was a point early on in my photography career where I found myself just burning out. I was juggling shoots, editing photos, delivering photos to the clients, invoicing them, doing follow-ups. And in the middle of all that, I was trying to grow the business, right? Market myself. So I built it because I needed it. And I'm truly proud of the platform we've developed and brought to market to help photographers. So I hope this gives you a bit of a flavor of who I am and why I care about this space so deeply. Today, I'm here to share what actually works, as I mentioned earlier, what doesn't work, and how to build a more efficient real estate photography business. Okay, so here's the plan for today. This has been intentionally structured to move us from why this business works to what's changing and then into exactly how I run my workflow day to day. So we're going to cover why real estate photography, right? Why does it matter? Here, I'm going to cover the demand of real estate, the services that are available in this space, and the earnings potential. Next, we're going to go into the industry, cover what's been going on with real estate pre and post COVID. That was a pivotal moment in real estate and other markets, of course, but especially in real estate, there has been a lot of changes since COVID happened. We're going to talk about also real estate 101. So if you're not if you're not familiar with real estate at all, we're going to cover the MLS platform and basically how real estate works as a whole. I was also a real estate agent at one point in my career, so I have a lot to say about that. We're also going to cover why social media matters. Of course, you all know social media is very important, but we're going to cover why it matters. Then we're going to talk about what's changing in 2026. Some growth opportunities that are happening with AI, some evolving tools that are happening with Adobe and other tools that we use. And we're going to cover market shift. Okay, that's actually a very important topic. Next, I'm going to get into my blueprint. So what exactly is my workflow? What do I do when I get a booking? How do I deliver the final photos to the client? Like all this information I will cover on this call. Okay, the services, the tools that I use, the camera settings for HDR. How do I do post editing and post-processing? And again, client delivery and invoicing. And I'm also going to demo all of this most of this for you. Okay, finally, we're going to end with I'm going to share some training resources that you can reference following this workshop that will give you a lot more information. Okay, so why real estate photography? So real estate photography works because there are three simple reasons. We have the demand, we have the services, and we also have scalability. So on the demand side, homes are listed every day, as you see there. Agents always need strong visuals, and those client relationships are ongoing, right? So when you get hired by an agent, as long as you deliver amazing service and you start building that relationship with them, they don't want to contact another photographer. They want to continue working with you. So those relationships are super, super important. So that the demand doesn't disappear in real estate. It just shifts. When it comes to services, photos, I like to say that photos open the door. But additional services like floor plans, video work, drones, 360 tours, right? They create the real opportunity. It's the upsell in real estate where the real earning potential is. And I will share more of that shortly. Agents prefer a one-stop shop solution. So the more you're capable of supplying the demand, the more marketable you'll be. So depending on where you are, drone operations is a big part of this. And we're going to talk about that more in a second. Okay, the earning potential. So real estate shoots are fast, they're repeatable, and they're standardized. Mostly you're going to use the same camera settings. Once you dial in your camera, you're going to shoot, for the most part, the same angles. You're going to fly your drone and you're going to shoot the same angles. You might make some adjustments here and there to, of course, make your shoots unique to that property. But for the most part, it's a very fast, repeatable, and standardized process. So that makes it easier because you're able to price your services more consistently and scale volume without reinventing your process, essentially. To give you some information, in New Jersey, the average photo shoot starts at $249. That's for about a 60-minute visit. It starts at $249, so that's photos only. And in New York City, the average shoot is $285 for about a 60-minute visit. My average invoice is $485 for a 2-hour visit. And these include services, add-ons, can increase my average from 30 to 60%. Okay, so on average, I'm shooting about 3 properties per day. Okay, sometimes 4, depending on how busy I get. but 3 is my average per day. So you could do some mental math on that, but the earning potential is definitely there. Okay, if you're a really good real estate photographer. There's a question in the chat. When starting out, how do you not get overwhelmed by your own ambitions? Yeah, no, that's a really good question. When I started out, I started by delivering photos and video only. Okay, and then I started doing. I did floor plans. This was before. There's an application called Kubikaza, and I'm going to talk about them later. And I started doing floor plans because my clients were asking me for a floor plan, and it would take me sometimes 2 to 3 hours just to do one single floor plan. And obviously, I was charging $150, $200, I think, for a floor plan. The tech wasn't there, right? The tech wasn't there to do these things fast. Now the tech is there, so you're able to do floor plans very, very quickly. But you're right. So starting out, I would start out with photos, video, floor plans. That's an easy one now, and then master those 3 things. Those are the 3 things that you're gonna be requested the most, actually, in real estate. Drones, yes, depends on where you live. And 3D tours have actually decreased in demand. Okay, and we'll talk about that also in a bit later. But definitely photos, video, and floor plans, and really master those 3 things before moving on to something new. How do you determine how much to charge in North Carolina? See what your competition is doing. Right, so figure out who's your competition in your region and see how much what their pricing points are, and maybe call an agent or two and ask them. Say, what do you normally pay for a photo shoot, right? And that'll give you a quick sense of where the market is in your area. All right, let's talk about the industry. So a few quick industry realities that directly affect how photographers win today. So the market pre-COVID was very strong. COVID, though, did permanently push real estate into a digital world. Okay, so two things happened. Inventory dropped hard, but it also raised the bar on quality, video, and 3D tours. In particular, there's a company called Matterport. Have you guys heard of Matterport? You have, okay. I see David shaking his head. Yes. So Matterport is a company who offers 3D tours. Okay, and they exploded during the COVID period. I mentioned earlier that I was also an agent. It was around this time that I was also an active agent. And I remember doing virtual tours and walkthroughs, properties. So people were actually making purchasing decisions based on the 3D tours and based on agents walking around the properties with their phones, right, doing showings. That was true for the first, I would say, 4 to 6 months of COVID, definitely here in New Jersey. So to put some numbers to it, New Jersey went from around 40,000 listings in 2019. COVID, the restrictions happened in March of 2020, to under 18,000 listings today. And New York City saw a similar drop. So from 40,000 to around 18,000 listings. The good news is that in the last couple of years, we're starting to see an increase of inventory at a rate of around 10% year over year. That's a really good signal. Okay, Real Estate 101. So here's the flow. A homeowner hires an agent because they need to sell their property. The agent hires a photographer, and the photos hit the MLS. The MLS is the multiple listing service. Okay, so in simple terms, an MLS is it's like a centralized database where real estate agents list their properties for sale, and share details about the property within this system with other agents and brokers. Okay, so the MLS feeds uh, platforms like Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, Homes.com. So photographers are literally the front line of how homes are marketed. Your work creates the first impression everywhere. Uh, I always tell my clients, my photos and my work doesn't sell the property. That's your job. But my work gets people to the door, right? So that's how I like to see it. So one thing photographers often overlook is which MLS actually supports the property that you're shooting. Okay, and the rules vary by region. In the state of New Jersey, for example, we have 8 different MLS systems. 8. Okay, your state may have more or less, right? It really depends. And I mostly work on properties within the GSMLS, the Garden State MLS, which covers the region of Somerset County, mostly here in New Jersey. But I do often work for on properties in locations covered by other MLSs. This Friday, for example, I'm going down to the shore to do a shoot in Aberdeen, New Jersey, which is covered by another MLS called Bright MLS. So the MLS platforms, they're the ones who govern the rules for the photos and for the floor plans and whatever other media you're going to be uploading for the property. They govern all of that. Okay. And lately they've been tightening the restrictions, especially around AI generated content, virtual staging, and image manipulation. So I've started to see a lot of changes in those in within the rules. So staying on top of the MLS rules or MLS rule changes helps protect you and your clients. And it also helps you guide agents instead of reacting after the listing has been flagged, right? So you want to be the expert in this space, and the agents are trusting in you to know the rules for the work you're delivering. So if your work does get rejected, it's not the end of the world, but it is a headache. It can delay a listing, which is never good, right? In this space, and it can really hurt your reputation and trust. So really stay on top of this. Social media. So we all know social media is super important. Some stats there: about 80% of agents now market on social media directly as well, and nearly 2/3 use video to do so. So buyers, especially millennials and Gen Z, are discovering homes on Instagram and social feeds now, not just Zillow and not just homes.com and realtor.com. They're actually relying on social media to get their to get listing information. As photographers, that means that we must not only shoot to the property, but we also should consider the agent, right, when we're creating content. So again, think about the one-stop shop, right? So the agent is hiring you to shoot the property, but if there are any other additional services that you can provide for the agent that can help them not just market the property but market themselves, then obviously they're going to call you next time, right? So you could do more work for them. Okay, so what's changing in 2026? A lot is changing in 2026, but not in the way people fear. So let's talk about AI first. Let's get one thing clear. AI is not replacing real estate photographers anytime soon. We're already seeing what's known as AI fatigue. Okay, and if you're not sure what that is, it's when people stop being impressed by AI and they start questioning whether they can trust what they're seeing. That's basically the definition of AI fatigue. MLSs are tightening their rules around what's allowed. For example, in California, there's a new law that passed early this month, I think it's on January 1st, called the Assembly Bill 723. I don't know if you've heard of that new bill, but it directly affects how real estate listings can use AI edited or digitally altered images in property marketing. Okay, so the new law covers basically new disclosure requirements for altered images, and it helps reinforce truth in advertising and transparency to protect buyers and sellers. AI also cannot replace on-site expertise. It cannot replace lighting decisions or knowing the space, right, of the property, which they're all unique. And most importantly, AI cannot collaborate with agents and homeowners. Okay, so if some people ask me, so are you afraid of AI? Is AI going to change yours? No, it's not going to change. It's not going to change much. In fact, it's gonna help. I see it as AI is going to help with a couple of things. So when we talk about evolving tools, of course, we're also talking about AI. The key thing to understand is that AI does have its place. When AI is used in ways that require disclosure for edits and they don't really alter the truth of the space, it can actually make your workflow much faster and more productive. So I'll give you a use case on how I use this. So I actually do outsource all of my editing work now because I'm very busy with real estate. So I just want to focus on the shooting aspect of it. But it took me around 2 months to gain that confidence in my editing team to deliver the photos to my style of shooting. So it wasn't like I'm just gonna send them these photos, these files, and they're gonna get everything back to me and it's perfect. No, it actually took around 2 months for them to really dial in my style and the final work. But without AI, sometimes they would give me back things and they would miss something. Maybe they forgot to remove a trash can, or or I don't know, there was a toilet paper somewhere in the bathroom that I missed when I shot the bathroom. Well, those things can now be handled, very easily within Photoshop by using Nano Banana. You've all probably heard of this. It's a Gen AI tool. They partnered with Google, right, and it's now available in the Photoshop application. So those are examples on how I am personally using the tools to work in my favor and AI to work in my favor, right? So let's move on to marketing shifts. How many of you have heard of the CoStar Group? You have, Julia. Okay, perfect. Alex, yes. Okay. Yes, Amelia. Excellent. Thank you. David, yes. I saw you shake your head before. If you haven't heard of the CoStar Group, they basically own homes.com. They own apartments.com. They own land.com, biz buy sell. Like all those businesses fall under the CoStar Group umbrella. Something very important with them is that they acquired the company called Matterport, and I mentioned them earlier in my presentation, right? Matterport. They do 3D tours. Well, they acquired Matterport for $1.6 billion in early 2024. Why does this matter? Because the CoStar Group is also a direct competitor to Zillow, right? One of the largest real estate marketing companies in the world. And on October 20th of just last year, Zillow removed Matterport tours from their platform. Okay, so this happened after the CoStar Group did not renew their API agreement with Zillow. So that's a major signal, right? If platforms change, integrations disappear, and photographers can't rely on a single ecosystem. For me, how that impacted me personally was I am no longer using Matterport. I can't use Matterport to deliver 3D tours because of this change. So now I am looking now for an alternate solution. But the good thing is that Matterport or 3D tours have actually been dropping in demand, as I mentioned earlier. So it hasn't really affected my business much. I was only doing like 10% 3D tours to begin with. But now I have to look for an alternate solution. Another major industry shift that has happened is around drone hardware availability, specifically DJI. And you may have heard, right? So in late December, again, just last year, the FCC added DJI and other foreign-made drones to its national security covered list. That's what they're calling it. So which essentially it blocks new DJI models from being approved or sold in the US. This does not ground existing drones. So if you already own a DJI drone, it's still very legal to fly under FAA Part 107 for commercial use. What does change though is future supply. So new DJI models cannot be imported or sold, and inventory is already starting to get tight. So I don't know if you've been to the DJI store lately from the US, but there's a lot of DJI drones that are already out of stock. Okay, and the same thing is happening with Amazon and other retailers. We're already starting to see the effect of this. But personally, look, I am bummed that DJI drones are no longer going to be available. They are way ahead of the market of any other competitor. But we'll see what happens. I will say this: if you do already have your Part 107 license, which again is you need it to fly drones commercially, you are in a competitive advantage at this point. All right, so these are the services that I provide to my clients. So obviously photos, and below each service, you see a percentage of time that I am providing these services. So photos, 100%. Floor plans, around 80% of my properties, I do floor plans. Drones here in New Jersey. So I live in Somerset County. There's a lot of farmland here. There's also a lot of open space and a lot of properties with a lot of land. So I'm flying my drone around 50% of the time on my shoots. Okay, in video, I'm doing around 25% at the moment, though that number has been steadily increasing since around 6 months ago. This slide compares HDR and Flambient. These are the two most common lighting approaches in real estate photography. HDR blends multiple exposures to quickly create a balanced image. Okay, you can see that on the right image here. It's fast, it's efficient, and it works really well for, I would say, the grand majority of listings. Flambient, which is on the left image, combines flash and ambient exposures. So this gives you more control over color accuracy. It gives you cleaner whites, sharper details, and just overall better handling of difficult lighting situations like color casts, warmer interiors, etc. The trade-off, though, it is time-consuming and complex. That's the reason why I personally shoot around 95% HDR, and I reserve that 5% for luxury homes and different situations. Flambient does take longer to shoot. It also takes longer to edit, and it requires more of a technical skill. So because of that, it is positioned as a higher end option for clients. I would say neither approach is right or wrong. The key is to match the technique to the listing, to the property, as I mentioned, and also to the client's expectations. All right, let's talk about specifically a little more into HDR photos. So again, HDR stands for high dynamic range. It works by capturing multiple exposures of the same scene and blending them into a single balanced image. And here's an example of this, right? So you have 3 exposures in this example, and the end result is one beautiful image. From a gear perspective, HDR is intentionally simple. Okay, so I'm shooting on a tripod using a remote shutter to avoid movement, and a wide angle lens, typically in the 10 to 24 millimeter range, just because that gives you that nice wide angle on some shoots. So you have the best of both worlds with 10 to 24 millimeter range lens. The camera settings I keep normally as aperture priority, and I let the camera handle the shutter speed. So I let the camera handle the shutter speed. I usually bracket between 3 to 5 images, and I use f8 for most shoots. Around 400 ISO, it seems to work in my Fuji X-T5. I would recommend that once you find the settings for your camera, and once you try this out, stick to it. Stick to those settings because they work again for 99% of the properties and in situations. Also, if you are shooting a property using three exposures, so three brackets, stick to three brackets throughout the entire shoot. Don't switch it midway. It's going to be a headache when you go to post or when you send it to your editing team for them to figure out which ones are three, which ones are five. I always do five. It works great. It gives me more options for all the spaces. That's it. So this setup is fast, repeatable, consistent. So I like it. All right, exposure bracketing steps by camera brand. So if you're shooting on Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fuji, or Panasonic, this is basically the where you find the bracketing options. Don't worry about memorizing this. The goal here is not to be exact. It doesn't matter which brand you're using. You're doing the same three things. You're basically enabling auto bracketing. You're choosing the number of frames, and you're setting the exposure value, which again is mostly three. I would recommend 3 or 5. So let's talk about flambient. Flambient stands for ambient plus flash. So you take one ambient shot, okay, which is in this example, this one down here, and then you take a flash shot, okay, or multiple flash shots. This is actually a very easy space to shoot, but when you have lamps, when you have fans, and when you have other things in the way, you really have to be purposeful and careful where you point your flash. Okay, most of the time you want to point your flash to the ceiling so you can use the white ceiling to bounce the light back down. This is why flambient is technically more challenging than just HDR. But flambient combines natural ambient exposures with flash lit frames, and again you use it to create a more color accurate image. What else can I say about this? I guess the biggest difference with flambient is again the intent. So you're not just capturing exposures, you're shaping the light in the room with flambient. And because of that, flambient takes more time to shoot and edit. Do you need to adjust the room layout to make the photo look better, or does the agent's job? That's a great question. Actually, I have a checklist called the Prepare Checklist. It's something I put together. It's a one sheet PDF that I email to my clients, especially the new clients. And that one sheet tells them everything they need to know and do before the shoot. And they normally pass that on to the clients, to the homeowner, and the homeowner prepare the space before I get there. I don't normally move stuff around or move furniture around. I don't think I've done that in like the last 3 or 4 years because my clients know what to expect. What I do though is, if I go into a bathroom and if I see the toilet seat up, obviously I'll put it down. If I see the napkins or something that's not correct in a space, I move it around. If it takes me 30 seconds, a minute to prepare that space to look so it looks correct, I take that time just to get it done for them. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, so the next 5 slides here, these are shoots that I've done for different properties. Everything that you're going to see here is HDR. This is a straight shot. Look at the vertical and horizontal orientation of this shot. Okay, it's super, super important. You wouldn't have any tilted angles. Also, there's a rule of thirds. Normally, you want to position the camera a third away from the floor to the ceiling, right? So if the ceiling is 12 feet in height, so what's a third of that? Like 4 feet. So you want to position your camera at a 4 feet level because that's the rule of thirds. Here's another angle. This is an angled shoot, 2 walls, so 1 and 2. Obviously, the hero here is the fireplace and the windows. Okay, this is an angled shoot, 3 walls. Here's another angled shoot. And you can see HDR does an amazing job with the window pulls. Okay, this is a straight shoot. So I'm going to talk about this photo a little more. So depending on the space, yes, you're selling a house. But there are some properties that you're going to walk into and you're going to find a space that is like, man, this space is just magical, right? Everything works. The door, the window here, the bench, everything works about this space. So I'm not showing really, how big it is. I'm not really displaying even the transition into the other room. It's just a really nice, warm space. It's very inviting. And I always look for these opportunities when I'm doing my shoots, especially in a beautiful property. It just elevates your photos. Buyers that are seeing your photos and they're cycling through and they come to this photo. They're like, I can see myself sitting on that bench. That's a beautiful door. It's a very inviting image, right? Even though I'm not showing really the transition into the other room or any of those things. So look for those opportunities when you're doing your shoots. It really elevates your work. So my workflow, again, using RebookMedia, there's a couple of things that I do. I have a website, of course. Scribensmedia.com is my website. Clients go into my book now option on my website. They book my services online. They get an SMS confirmation. I get an SMS confirmation. We both get emails. And then I log into my account. I check out the property that they just booked me for. I go and perform the services. I go back to the website and I deliver the work. I invoice the customer and submit a review request for the work that I've just submitted. That's basically my workflow. This is my website. Okay, so I'm going to demo this real quickly for you. So my clients go here, they log into their accounts, they click on services, book now. All right, and then this is my booking form. They enter the address. So this is an example. Then they review the services that I offer and they click on a service. So I'm just going to do photos and floor plans as an example. They click on me and they select the date when they need the services. So let's do Friday. And then these are the times that I'm available on Friday. So let's select 2 to 4. And here they can apply a promo code if they have it. So this is something very important also. I would recommend you build a promo code. You give it to new clients and offer your service at a 50% discount. Don't do it for free, even if you're a little bit rusty. Agents do want to help, especially up and coming new photographers in this space. So a lot of them will give you a little bit of a break in the beginning, especially if you're offering them 50% off to shoot their property. So I do have a code reserved for these clients. My code is new client 50, and then they do that. Okay, so it brings down their price. Then here they review my terms and conditions, they accept, and they click on book now. So this is how my services get booked through the platform. Okay, and then they can click on my orders, they can review their orders and etc. So I just got an SMS message about the new booking. All right, so what I do is I go into my account, I log in. All right, so this is my account within RebookMedia, and here's the new order that just came in right here. I'm going to share with you a little something here as well. If you need to build a website, this is where you build your website within RebookMedia. I'm going to spend 2 seconds on this. So if I go back into a Scribens Media and I'm going to click on manage, this is where I manage my website. Okay, if I need to launch a new look to my website, maybe I like this one better, all I do is click on new template. I give it a name and I select whatever template I need to add. So here's an example of one that I just added. It takes 2 seconds. I'm going to publish this one here. So this one is now published. And next time I refresh my website, my entire website's presence just changed. It's that simple. Okay. So I'll go ahead and change it back. Here we go. Refresh. There you go. Okay. So I go back home. This is the new order that just came in. I click on that. The first thing I do is go to the property address by clicking on this little icon here. This launches Google Maps, and I click on satellite and I zoom in. Okay, this gives me a quick view into the property. Right, so this is, it's a nice property, but it's not a large property. So depending on I would always recommend the drone service if it's again a very large property. But here in this example, a drone service may not be necessary. Okay, so this is what I use to kind of assess the lot and the of the property. Here, I can also review the services that were ordered. So if the user also needs, like, for example, any additional service, I can just click here and then I add that service. For example, another floor plan for whatever reason, for example. Okay, so this adds the other floor plan, and this automatically calculates down to the bottom line. Okay, if I want to offer a discount, I can do that here very easily. So type in like 10%, for example. And again, this automatically calculates. If I'm going to collect sales tax, I click here. This automatically calculates the sales tax based on your state. So all of this is done from one single place. Here I review the visit. So the visit was scheduled for the 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. and it's in progress. You can always reschedule that from here. You can cancel that visit. And this is where you schedule visits. Okay. So yeah, so it's like a one-stop shop, and this is the reason why I built it this way, because again, it's to support my own needs as a photographer, right? I wanted everything to be in one single place, and I'd have to be juggling different tools, different places. Your website looks diverse. Cars, bikes. Do you recommend posting other photos, interests? Yes, I would recommend you post photos of whatever work you deliver. Rebook Media is built beyond real estate. So you can see here on the right side, real estate is what I've selected because this is a real estate shoot. But I also do aerial work. I do portraits. I mentioned earlier, I do cars, bikes, and planes as well. And I do family work, right? So yes, real estate is mostly my bread and butter, but these are other disciplines that I also work on. And what's nice about this is that as soon as you start adding services, so if I go to my storefront, and if I add services for aerial work, for example, so here's one service that I offer for aerial work, aerial photography, DJI Mavic. Okay. If I go to that order, and if I change this to aerial, now next time I add a new service line, you're going to see that service, right? Only the service for the category I've selected. So now this became an aerial work type invoice or type order. So it's very, very, yes, very, very diverse and very tailored to whatever photography you do. Okay, let's switch this back to real estate. Okay, now to deliver the media, once I go out and do the shoot, I come back here, I click on media. This is where I upload the photos for real estate. And if I have any floor plans, this is where I upload the floor plans. Super simple. I'm going to pull up just a quick example of one that I've done recently. Here's, okay, you just upload the photos there. And then for the floor plans, you just click and drag the floor plans there. Let's say, for example, I want to make this my cover page for this work. So I just do it like that and type in the address. So 45 Kilmer Road. Forgot exactly what the address was. Your home waits. Okay, and then when I click on preview, once this is done uploading, okay, this comes up, and this is what the client will see when you send them this link. And then obviously they can download the work right from here and share this link also with the homeowner. This is what they do. Okay, any questions on this so far? Thank you, Amelia. Yes, very user-friendly. I agree. Do you have to pay for a subscription? There is a free option to use Rebook Media. Let's go back to the project details. So once I'm done with the work and I've delivered the photos, I click on send invoice. So I click here. This invoice was discounted because of that 50% off. And then I click on send. Okay, I'm not going to trigger this now, but this basically triggers the invoice to the customer. Okay, and then once I'm done with the work, I click on request review. This triggers another link to the customer, asking them to very quickly review the work that you just delivered. And this is what that form looks like. So they can very quickly, give you a review right on here. And, again, very, very quick steps. You just click on, send invoice and request review, and you do everything in one single location. You don't need to be navigating to different pages to do all of these tasks. Also, want to mention, if you do bigger work like weddings, for example, there is a send contract option here. So you can connect your DocuSign templates, contract templates, and you can trigger them right from here. And those contracts will be linked to this job. Okay, and you can also track the contracts that you've triggered to your customers right from here as well. Okay, super, super easy. All right, let's go back to the presentation. So we talked about delivering the media, invoicing, and requesting review. What type of flash? I use the AD200 flash for real estate. That's what I mostly use. I think I answered the other one. You have to pay a subscription. There is a free plan option to use RebookMedia as well, Jordan. Let's talk about floor plans using Cubicasa. So someone asked me about this earlier. Cubicasa, I would recommend you research them. They have made my work so much easier. The floor plans that you produce using Cubicasa, I believe they're still like 97.9% accurate. I can now do a 2,500 square foot home in about 15 minutes. That's how amazing this application is. I can't say enough good things about them. What I have seen though here is that they're starting to, because of business reasons, obviously, they're starting to market their platform to agents. But what I've also found is that agents don't care because they want the photographer to do this work. They don't want to walk around, with their iPads doing a scan for a floor plan. They have other things they need to do, other priorities they need to focus on, like selling the house. So they still leave all that work to the photographer, and this is a massive opportunity for you to upsell your work. Any questions before I move on to the closing notes? When doing floor plans, do you have to measure the rooms yourself? No, Jordan, and that's the beauty of Cubicasa. I used to measure the rooms myself with a laser gun, and it used to take me 2 hours. And I used to have an application where I used to draw the walls, and it was a pain. Cubicasa, you scan every room, you walk around, you do one continuous scan of every room, every open door, like closets and things, garage, even patios. And then the application stitches, it uses LiDAR, right? Your mobile or your iPad's LiDAR technology, and it uses that tech to basically stitch together a floor plan, and it even produces a 3D floor plan and even a small video tour of the property. It's a very powerful application, and I would highly recommend you check it out. All right, how much do you charge for a floor plan? Anywhere from $99 for a small unit, like a one-bedroom apartment, to $249. Part 107, if you have Part 91 license. So Gary, yes, if you already have a Part 91 license, if you are a licensed pilot, you can get your Part 107 by simply completing a very quick and fast online quiz by the FAA. Speak with a local CFI about this because you do need endorsements to get that done. So a local CFI can endorse you for that test. You'll then take the answer. It takes like maybe 20-25 minutes to answer those questions. It's very simple. And the FAA will issue your Part 107 license after that. So it is much easier. Because the Part 107 license covers, weather, it covers aerodynamics, right? It covers all the things that you've already covered as a private pilot.
Okay. So the 107, if you take the test for the 107, how extensive is that?
The test itself, I personally never took.
Oh,
because I was a licensed pilot when I did my Part 107.
well,
So
I imagine a commercial, flight instructor would probably want a fee for the endorsement.
yeah, I mean, I used my local flight instructor, who's also a friend of mine, so he didn't charge me. But yeah, they'll charge you a small fee. It shouldn't take more than an hour for them to do this. So the fee will be minimum.
And that's only if you get if you use it commercially. But suppose you have your own drone and you just want to go out and fly it. Do you need a 107 for that also?
No, no. You can only you only need a Part 107 when you're flying your drone for commercial use.
Okay.
For recreational use, you do not need a Part 107.
A question.
Yes.
Um, the Kubigaza, this is very interesting. Do you need any special apparatus for these, you know, for your iPhone or iPad that you're utilizing for this? Any like a tripod or something to that effect? I mean, how's that work?
You do not. No. It's literally an application for your phone.
Really? Okay.
It's an app. Yeah, it's an app. It's remarkable. It's an app that uses the lidar technology, which is now they're now available on every iPhone, and every iPad. I'm not sure if they support Android devices. I believe they do. But me personally, I use everything iOS. All right, Nova, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm mostly kind of piggybacking off what would be great lenses to have in your kit when you're going on into the field because I want to make sure that I'm prepared if I need to switch between lenses and make sure that I can capture everything because I do have like a 24, a 35, and a 50 that could potentially work, but at the same time, what are kind of like some solid options to have in your lens kit for that?
Yeah, so this is my go-to lens. So I shoot with Fuji. Right? I've been shooting with Fuji for a long time. So I was able to transfer my lens from one camera to the next. Um, so my go-to lens for real estate is this one here. Is the aspherical lens 1024 f4. That's my go-to lens. Um, I'm not sure what camera you're shooting with, but if you get anything close to this, you should be okay.
And I think
Yeah.
a what you call isn't it not?
Sorry, David, I couldn't really hear you well.
Sensor, crop sensor. That's what Fuji cameras are.
Yes.
Either crop or medium format. So when you compare the full frame of a camera, like I can have the R5 or the R6 Mark II, the 15 to 35 probably is equivalent to your 10 to 24.
Correct. Exactly. Yes.
Anthony, I have a question on that Flambion.
Yes, Gary.
If you take a reading at the windows, then you balance it with the interior, and you should be able to get by with one shot, and there's no stacking or any Photoshop work. Am I correct?
Well, you're always going to have some sort of Photoshop work because you need to stack both images, right? Or Lightroom or whatever platform you're using. The number of flash shots really depends on what you're looking to accomplish. Okay, so there's no rules for Flambion like there is for HDR on the number of flashes you need. Normally, there's always an ambient shot. So there's always one ambient shot, and there's usually one or more flash shots to the windows in order to get the window pulls, right? To get the window pull. And then there's one or more shots around the space. This example here is a very simple room. There's no furniture, there's no lamps, there's no fans. Once you start practicing the Flambion technique in a room with furniture, with lamps, you're gonna find that, oh my God, I have a lot of shadows, right? I need to flash this differently from a different angles. And this is where I would recommend finding the right space that has all of those challenges and start practicing in that space. Don't practice in an empty room like this. You have false expectations when you go into a very complicated shoot. You have to understand what the flash is doing, and also how to set the flash intensity, right, for all these different shots. I hope that helps.
It does.
And ask another question.
Yes.
Rotor light system. I have so many of those. Can I use those? It is LED, quite powerful, and I think I have 1 to 200 watts in each unit. Would they suffice?
I think so. Yes. Yeah, I think you have the right equipment, and you have obviously a remote, right? Remote.
Yes. Yeah. The temperature very well, and utilizing that in HDR would make a beautiful image, because I actually use those in weddings now. It's a phenomenal lighting system.
Perfect. Yeah, that should work here as well. Yep.
Okay.
Alrighty. Closing notes. So I want to wrap up with a few practical takeaways that you can start acting on right away. So the first is getting your first real estate client is all about visibility and consistency. So building a portfolio driven website, photograph a few homes, right, at a discounted rate, like I talked about, and also make it a habit to attend at least one open house each weekend. Okay. So these are the three things I recommend you do if you don't already have a website. Build a website. Okay. And of course, RebookMedia, we facilitate that very, very easily. Photograph some homes, offer a discount to your clients. How about taking pictures of your own home? Absolutely, take pictures of your own home, of your friend's house. Yes, 100%. And then once you feel you're ready, start attending an open house each weekend. Create a very simple card. Put a discount code on that card. Give it to the client. Give it to your clients, your future clients. Introduce yourself, introduce your work, and that's going to go a long way. Second thing, do not be afraid to fail. Like anything in photography, especially, we learn as we go many times. So you will improve if you continue. Practice. We all started somewhere. And now, I mentioned earlier, I had some embarrassing things to share with you, and I'm about to do them now. So this is a property, again, I shot at around 5 or 6 years ago, and here we go. Okay, so this is 10 Captain's Woods, somewhere in New Jersey. So I'm just gonna, look at this. Please don't shoot me. This is terrible. Just yeah, there's a lot of wrong in these images. Wait till you see the interior. Good Lord. But this is how I started, guys. This is how I started. I started just doing it, and yeah, look at the colors. Really, really bad. The same property now. Right? You could see the improvement there. So I like using this property as an example of how far I've come in this space. So yeah, just practice and get it done. The third thing I'll mention is invest the time in learning Photoshop and Lightroom. And leverage AI responsibly to speed up your workflow. Before you hire someone to do the editing for you, you should learn to do it yourself, because it's the only way that you'll be able to transfer that knowledge to that other person or that other company. And again, it will take you some time. It will take some time for them to learn your style and learn your settings, your presets, whatever that is. It took me a few months for them to dial it in perfectly. And now, every time I send them anything, they send me back almost as if I had done it. Okay, so that's where you want to be there. 4, become a Part 107 licensed drone pilot. It will be absolutely worth it. This whole space in drones is changing drastically. So do invest the time in getting your license. YouTube University, our channel at Rebook Media, and others like Nathan Cools. Nathan Cool is a YouTuber. He's also a real estate photographer out in California. He has great material in the real estate space, so there's a lot of good knowledge there. And lastly, if you're new to Rebook Media and not already using our platform, we're offering a workshop promo code which expires at the end of this month. So there's no pressure at all. But if you're looking for a way to bring everything we talked about today into one place and get access to future member-only workshops like these, I would love for you to check it out. And like I mentioned, there is a free plan for Rebook Media as well. You can check that out. All right, I think I am done. Was this helpful? Everyone can go off mute now and tell me if this was helpful or not helpful.
Very helpful.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Thank you again for spending your time with me. Truly appreciate it. I hope this workshop gave you clarity, confidence. You will receive a copy, as I mentioned, of these slides shortly. And I'm going to hang out in here for a few more minutes, just in case there are any final questions from anyone. Again, everyone, thank you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.